Yikes. Uh, the word minority has a definition. It means to be the lesser party in comparison to a larger party. This is not the first time Trump won an election, so I'm not about to act like it's like shock and awe, right? But I do think that this time it sent a real message that the last time couldn't really touch. You know, the first time anything happens, there's shock and awe and, oh my God, how did that happen? But at least for me, I think the second time around, it digs a little deeper. In case y'all can't tell, this is the first video I've made on this channel without a script. I'm just talking. So, in an effort to try to structure this around something, I'm going to start with how I spent the election. On election days, I try to distance myself from the noise and the activity, right? I don't know how y'all do that to yourselves. Just like watch the states flip. The anxiety is crazy. It's not for me. I was not surrounded by pro-Trump people. I was not surrounded by pro-Harris people. None of that. But here's somebody who knows what that's like. I'm here with
Jacob.
And I was just out here filming. He was out here filming. He watches a series, so I figured I'd get somebody on camera who's been to both Harris rally and was at a bar, like a pro-Trump bar, the night of the election, and just see what his thoughts are. So, like, as it all went down and the votes started rolling in, like, what was your initial feeling, like, on a personal level?
I mean, I lean left, and so I voted Kamala in the state of Georgia, and so I was really unsure about what the future of, like, what the election outcome was going to be. I thought it was definitely a coin flip, and when the votes started rolling in, it was quite the dichotomy because inside I felt very pessimistic, but I was surrounded by Trump supporters that were ecstatic. And I mean, the things that I witnessed, it was, like just with every state that turned, it was just cheers and rowdiness and name calling of the Democratic senators and whatnot. But it was just obviously like a very positive environment because they were winning.
I was watching a movie. I was making dinner. I went to bed early. What's your outlook on these next 4 years? How does it feel for you?
It's funny. I mean, I've been doing the video project that I've been working on for 2 years, and January 6th was like a huge motivator for me because that was the most amount of political division that I've ever seen. And so, the video project that I was working on was I'm trying to find common ground and facilitate some sort of communication, but. It's funny, when I started the video project, I was a lot more pessimistic about the future of the United States. And as I've done this video project over the past 2 years, I'm a lot more, it's not like I want to say I'm optimistic. I still have a very healthy pessimism, but I'm much less pessimistic. But now that Trump won, the pessimism has gone a little more intense because I don't know what's going to happen. I think that there's just a lot of things that he's proposed through Project 2025, and the fact that he won the popular vote is sort of unheard of and not expected, and I think that will embolden him, Elon Musk, his cabinet, and his supporters in general.
So I felt disappointed. I did not feel shocked. I think there's an important difference between those two things. Being shocked at something implies that your expectations were out of whack. You were not considering the opposing side of an issue seriously enough, and you didn't give them enough weight. Disappointed because I know tangible things that Trump did in his first term that damaged a lot of people that I know and care about. And I personally didn't want to see those things happen again. And also, Trump is a dick. Like, I think it's just really that simple at the end of the day. He's a dick. And he said a lot of things that are offensive to minorities, that are offensive to immigrants, people with disabilities, senior citizens. It doesn't really matter. Like, I think he's openly insulted every group I could possibly name here. So that's not gonna make that big of an impact in this video, but I had to bring it up. Now we've talked about how I felt. Let's talk about the facts. pull my phone out, so I need to be informed. All right, so Trump essentially mirrored his 2016 electoral map, like basically the same. The main demographic that got him into office was 45 to 64-year-olds. That's not that surprising. That's everybody's dads. Speaking of dads, the gender split was predictable. Mostly men voted for Trump, while women favored Harris overall. The glass ceiling was not broken, and in my opinion, it's not going to be broken for a long time. We have a fundamental hatred for women in this country. I don't think that's the deciding factor in this election, but I do think it is a factor. Reproductive rights was my top issue in this election. I think it's a wild level of audacity that men have to try to tell women what to do with their bodies. And so that was the number one reason that I wanted to see Trump lose. And if you're for Trump, let me know how that issue weighed for you and if you think it's important at all. Apparently it wasn't. Trump voters primarily came out for two issues: the economy and immigration. There's a squirrel over there. And because of the way the light's hitting it, incredible. There's a Senate majority for the Republicans now, which means Trump is going to have an easier time pushing through cabinet appointees and things like that. Things that are on the chopping block. The truth is, everything's at risk. I don't think Obamacare is going to get repealed. I don't think they have a chance of doing that because they couldn't do that in 2017 when they had a clean sweep. I think we're going to get pulled from the Paris Climate Agreement again, probably on the first day in office. If the main headline is a lack of voter turnout, the subtext of this election is that corporate interests absolutely won. Corporate money makes the world go round. Without that, none of this works. I think states will be emboldened to reinforce their abortion bans. The majority of voters in Florida were in support of granting abortion access, but guess what? Senator Rick Scott established a 60% majority rule that if they didn't reach that, it wouldn't pass. He did it on purpose, and they got close, but not quite. Rick Scott and Ted Cruz kept their seats, by the way. Trump won the Latino male vote by 8 points this year, where he lost it by 23 in 2020. That's a crazy turnaround. Like, that is an incredible increase. Miami-Dade, Miami, 305, flipped Republican this year. That's a major city and suburbs. We usually don't see those flip Republican. So something major happened this year. Florida and Ohio are not battleground states anymore. They're red. Period. For those of us who are using our voices, using our platforms, and out in the streets doing the work to share information, I think the major takeaway from this is that we need to combat misinformation. I've seen a lot of things in my life, negative and positive, and I think my general philosophy is to just not let the negative things get me too down and not let the positive things get me too up. Because in both extremes, life is a roller coaster and you're going to be down or up again before you know it. So I try not to crash out. You know, with the existence of the two-party system, the polarization we've seen between parties, it's been tough for me to see a way back from that level of division. Do you think there is a way that we can address that divide and heal it? Or do you think that we're kind of on a crash course in a way?
Well, I think that the one question that I ask everybody is, do you think that finding common ground is possible? And regardless of people's political affiliation or how intensely they believe in that political affiliation, generally people, I would say like 80 to 90% of people do have an urge to find common ground. And I think that we have a lot more in common than we've been led to believe through media and social media. Because I think that those sorts of algorithms and echo chambers foster division because it makes it a lot easier to stay engaged on those platforms. But generally, you know, all Americans and all people in general, they want safety, security. They want, low prices, prosperity. They want the best for themselves and their family. And even though we have radically different ways of achieving that goal, we all want the same thing. There's obviously outliers of people who maybe have different goals or whatever, but generally,
sure.
you know, 90% of people have the same goals. And so I think that if we can come from an angle of sort of like backtrack, say like, hey, we both want this, but what is the most realistic and achievable way to get that goal? I think that that's the way that you should. And then also engaging with people that you disagree with on a healthy level. There's certain political issues that you do have to make a stand on. Like there might not be as much common ground, but generally I think that yeah, talking to people that you disagree with and attempting genuinely to find some common ground and understanding for each other is vitally important, especially at this moment.
It's one of the hardest things in the world to get people who fundamentally disagree with you on things to acknowledge that, at least in part, they're being lied to or they're being deceived. And that's not true on one side, it's true on both sides. I think the Democratic Party has been deceitful about things, and I think the Republican Party has been very deceitful about things as well. I think both parties are a problem. I think the two-party system is a problem. I think the whole system needs to be torn down and rebuilt from the ground up. But until then, the least we can do is hear each other out, talk like grown-ups, resist the name calling, and keep working. I think for those like me who are left-leaning and are tired of us making the same mistakes and electing racist celebrities to positions of power, what I'll say is you're still alive. You're still here, which means you still have an ability to fight and make change. Do it. Nobody's stopping you. You can either complain on the couch or you can get up and make a difference. The choice is yours. It always has been. Our system is broken, and only the people who reside within it have the power to fix it. We've seen some of the worst America has to offer in the modern era, but we got to remind ourselves we're under construction. I appreciate you taking some time to talk to me, man.
Of course, man.
It's kind of a first for the channel, so.
Yeah. I'm happy that I saw you, and I was like, is that Cam? So yeah, dude, I appreciate you doing the interview.
No doubt. Tell the people where they can find you.
You can find me on YouTube if you just type in Jacob Jonas Comedy, or you can find me on Instagram, Jankum Jones. And yeah.
Bet. Thank you, man.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it.
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course.